I think this is Mudryk in terms of not only tonight, but since he joined the club. He has some good moments and then some moments like flipping a coin. You don't know if it's one thing or the other thing. This is Mudryk. The story of Mykhailo Mudryk at Chelsea can be described with one word: frustrating. A player which we know just by watching him portrays a large amount of talent, extraordinary pace, flair, 1v1 ability, and a good ball strike on him as well. The main concern about him is nothing that you can develop on a training ground, but entirely in your head. The best way to describe it is if you've ever played Football Manager, but it's like having a player with, 18, 19, 20, and all the physical and technical stats, but on the mental stats, it's on like 5. That essentially is Mudryk. In today's video, we're going to go into what even is Mudryk, and can he potentially save his Chelsea career, or does he simply need to take a bit of a step down and maybe in a different environment, maybe could be given a bit more freedom and peace of mind to make the right decisions? Maybe that could be a factor. Tell me down below in comments your thoughts on Mudryk, like, subscribe, and Mykhailo Designs for the best football prints, all made by myself. Use code Mudryk for 15% off all items. And let's go. The date is the 21st of January 2023, where Liverpool played Chelsea at Anfield, and the new debut of Mudryk took place, in which, in a short cameo off the bench, made the entire league, never mind Chelsea fans, believe that we have a serious problem here. Some great, sharp bits of play, some remarkable dribbling technical skill, almost scoring a beautiful, solely created goal in that second half that could have won the game, with some great moments as well. And it made everyone look at Chelsea and thinking, what could they have up their sleeve here? Not only with Mudryk, but with the signings they were making at the time, they were making a very big impression. And maybe this was going to be the new future of Chelsea. And I wouldn't have blamed you for thinking that way back then. So, a year and a half on now, what do we think? The point of this video is to try to make some sense of it. If you're a Chelsea fan and you already know what is going on, so of course, please comment down below. However, this is more for people who may not be watching Chelsea week in, week out and may not really know what's going on. That also probably includes me. If I was to ask you, when was Mudryk's first goal for the club for Chelsea in the Premier League? You may have thought at least one goal in that second half of the season, but no, it took him until the 2nd of October 2023 with his first goal against Fulham away, which felt like the weight could be maybe off his shoulders, and maybe now he would develop into his own man with newfound confidence. And that kind of happened, just not as often as we would have hoped. If you're a stats man, so far in the Premier League, as he's almost played 50 games, he scored 5 goals and assisted 4 times. Last campaign was 5 goals and 2 assists, and the campaign before, with 15 appearances, was only 2 assists. In terms of other competitions, only 1 goal in the Carabao and the FA Cup. To also rejig your memory, in terms of the fee that he was brought in on, it is around 70 to 80 million pound. And don't forget, Arsenal was also very highly interested in him as well. It was a bit of a saga between Arsenal and Chelsea came out on top. However, could maybe the factor be of how long his contract would be and for how many years? His contract was quite long. By long, I mean very. It expires in 2031. He was given initially a 7.5-year contract. However, just prior to the summer of this season, apparently his contract was also extended alongside Enzo Fernandez. I still find the length of his contract still ridiculous if you're just going to extend him anyway. That's just me. Let us break down, despite the obvious talent that he obtains, what is he doing wrong? Into number 1. Now, fundamentally, it is decision making. However, you can break that down into precise areas of a certain player's game. So number 1 would be the fact that he does not protect the ball at all. Taking a risk is a fundamental part of a winger's job. It is their job to take a risk, and of all players to lose the ball on the pitch, it should be the winger, as they're the one to try to take on a man to create a goal scoring opportunity. However, in the past, there has been many wingers that does not only protect the ball, but also take those risky opportunities and does it well. Eden Hazard, for Chelsea fans, would be the best example that you guys have seen that firsthand. In the modern era, the best example is, of course, Mohamed Salah. With Eden Hazard, what would happen is if he was caught up and he couldn't get out of a situation, then he would simply create a foul, cause a foul, he falls over, and there's a free kick, and they get the ball. However, Mudryk, in contrast, loses the ball within 5 seconds of receiving a pass 50 times out of his 800 minutes in the Premier League in the last year and a half. That equates to 5.5 times per 90 minutes. Now, that may not mean anything, that's just numbers. So how does that equate to other wingers? Well, that is by almost 2 entire times more than anyone else to the second most highly dispossessed winger. He's lost possession 39 times per 100 touches in the entirety of last season, more than anyone else in the league. And if this was him losing the ball a lot really high up the pitch, then that could be more understandable. But to a graphic I find here, it is really anywhere across the pitch, and losing the ball in football is of course a big deal because it will always lead you to be prone to the transition, and that will always lead you to be potentially counter-attacked, and that is the main killer of really any football team. So if you have a player on the pitch which is inconsistent and, in a harsh term, unreliable, can be seen as a weak link that a team will simply target him when he receives a ball to put more pressure onto him, because they know that he's more likely to lose it, then they will simply target him. It's like this in any area of sport at any level. Now, of course, this isn't to mean that he's useless and he loses the ball all the time, because he doesn't. He can use his body and he can open up opportunities for him. The issue is at the top level, elite level, it's few and far in between, and the consistency isn't there. And this leads to number 2 of decision making and the issues that he has. He's completely inconsistent and completely erratic. For someone that has been at Chelsea for a year and a half now, many times when he plays, it almost appears like he has never played or trained with these players before. In terms of the system, where to be on the pitch at certain times, he doesn't appear to fully understand what to do. So sometimes he goes for a run inside when realistically he should be outside waiting for a pass to go in a 1v1 situation, but sometimes he does. However, his players would therefore anticipate him to not be there anymore. He's not on the same wavelength to the rest of the team. For example, you could see on screen here with Palmer receiving the ball inside, he then carries the ball to a wider position to go laid off the winger. However, the winger is just not there because Mudryk has then put himself in a forward position inwards for no good reason when he's already surrounded by 3 players. And the best example of this is kind of how Raheem Sterling at times receives the ball in contrast to a Mudryk on the left hand side. The examples are on screen right now, where in this example Mudryk runs inwards to make us run, running in the path of Nkunku, who is driving forwards with the ball, getting in the way of him and forcing him to turn back and to stop the break. And this can happen anywhere on the pitch. So in an attacking area, this can happen. However, in terms of build-up play, when he comes deep to try to receive a ball, sometimes he then sporadically goes for a run behind when he's already dropped deep to receive it. So once the pass is made, he's no longer there. Now, of course, teammates misunderstanding each other is part of football. However, this leads to the idea that he's not on the same wavelength as his teammates, because this happens more times than it should. And then the last piece, which can maybe go into his decision making here, is the fact that he is someone that reacts and not someone that anticipates. which is a key fundamental part of football. And what this creates is almost his pace feeling neutered because he reacts to things instead of anticipating. So by the time it already happens, it's most of the time too late because people have already sensed the danger. The most obvious example is when he's on the left flank and there's a ball on the right hand side of the pitch and it's going to be crossed into the box. This very rarely leads to a goal opportunity, and if it does, it's because he's reacted late in the first place. The best example is against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, which he scored in the 90th minute. However, the only reason why that happened is because Trippier made a mistake and Mudryk wasn't even in the box really to begin with, and then the mistake happened and he was there to capitalise on it. Sometimes that can be good, but most of the times it just leads to a wasted ball in the box because he doesn't anticipate the space ahead of him. And if he does, it's already too late compared to the defender. Here's another example. In the Carabao Cup at home to Middlesbrough, there's a great piece of play on the right-hand side. Raheem Sterling and Disasi is trying to build up. They then break in behind, and there's a perfect crossing opportunity. But Mudryk is not even close to being towards the 6-yard box to collect that ball. Raheem Sterling made an entire career being that man. Mudryk is the opposite of that. This is a difference between having intuition, having anticipation, and being simply reactionary, which is something which you can't have at a top level. And this part of the game is the key difference between a pro footballer and someone that stays at a semi-pro level or below. Frank Lampard, when he was at the club, he went on a podcast and was asked about Mudryk, and he quoted, "He's so quick, he's lightning, but he doesn't know the game. He can be a great dribbler, he can be a great passer, and he can be a good finisher." That is vital. It's just, can he use it? And the issue is, the only thing that you can really do to help is with time. But there's no guarantee. You can go gym, you can go on training ground, but when it comes to the high pressure moments, sometimes it is a case of if you know, if you have it or you don't. And that could be the fundamental issue with Mudryk. And I do find him really interesting because he is a really good case study of how vital a good footballing brain helps. By the way, this doesn't mean to say that he's stupid or anything. It just means that in terms of football, he's not at that elite level in terms of his knowledge of the game itself. And that's just the truth. So to ask the question, what even is Mudryk? Let's just say a Formula 1 car driven by a blind 10-year-old. And that's what Chelsea have to try to develop and work on him. However, it's been a year and a half, and after his display the other night in the Europa Conference League, it doesn't seem like he's making that much progress, and he has to make progress now and fast. Comment down below your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. See ya.